I wanted to report in and talk about the Strad Making Kit, which is my attempt to making almost any violin sound better relative to what it sounds like with a normal tailpiece. And the Strad Maker Kit I've gone into with, I think, about an hour's worth of video on how to make them and an outline of the rationale behind them. But this has all been sort of untested in the wild because last year I had kind of an injury and I wasn't psyched to practice that much or arrange concerts and things like that. So yeah, my arm feels good now, and met a nice pianist in the last few months, and we decided to do some concerts. So this is really my first time to push the instrument in a concert setting with the Strad Making Kit. And it was great. The worries, and I did have worries, were what happens if the Kevlar breaks? And you don't have to use Kevlar, but there's all kinds of different materials you can use. This one I'm trying right now is Kevlar. What happens if the Kevlar breaks? I was playing around with some different sizes, and I've got some videos on what ultimately is the strongest and not overkill. I can't remember off the top of my head what this Kevlar is made of, or what size it is. But the ones that were thinner, I went through many iterations. After some strong downbeats, the E, and actually at one point the A, actually broke at the knot. So I was sort of worried, even though this instrument's been strung up with my Strad Making Kit for 6 months at least now, with no issue. I was worried that in a concert setting, there's a certain kind of energy that is only unique to concert performing. And in the moment, sometimes you can just really give a lot of oomph on a note or something like that if you're feeling it. And that definitely, those moments happen for sure. We played a little bit of Brahms and some very high passionate moments with a lot of energy in that piece alone. And yeah, no issue there. So I was just, I had some trepidations. What happens if this rig breaks in a concert? To go into that a little bit, if you have a normal tailpiece, something breaks other than a bow hair. Let's say it's an E string. Never had that happen, but it happens to the best of us. You probably spend 5 minutes backstage putting a new A or E string on, returning, something like that, or take a few minutes to break it in. But in the case of the Strad Making Kit, if one of the support strands was to break, I didn't have any backup because they're really hard to make. So it's just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. If something breaks, something is broken and I can't do much about it. So what I ended up doing is I have another rig. It's also a Strad Making Kit, sort of designed by me, but it's made out of wire. That won't break. So I threw that in my case, and in case one of these broke, I would throw on that heavier wire version and restring the whole instrument. That would take 20 minutes probably to get it under performance stress to sort of set that up. So there's a little bit of a risk with the system, I'll be honest, but playing with it was good. I generally have a very low fluctuation in temperatures where I live. We barely get seasons here where I'm in California. So, I mean, humidity comes and goes, but in the city, last week it was especially warm, and we were in a performance space that sort of like a hotter space. So I'm generally like a hot person. I'm always boiling. I'm hardly wearing clothes half the time in my unit because I'm just so hot all the time. And I was very sweaty with my outfit, and my fiddle also was warm. The fiddle pitch consistently had dropped just a slight bit, consistently across the strings. So there was none of that in the last 6 months when I was practicing. And even though I do dry runs and rehearsal spaces and stuff like that, and with a lot of aggression, there's no slipping of the pitch at any point. So it was a combination of perhaps the performance, using a lot of gusto, and the fact that it was really warm. Something though. Anyway, so the wood itself, I think, shifted. I don't think the strings too much moved. It's a very like dynamic system, the violin. So it's hard to say like what exactly stretched or contracted. I'm guessing stretched to make the pitch a little flat relative to the piano. So between pieces and at intermission, I was at the piano getting my A recentered, and it was fine. It's not the worst thing that's ever happened, and I don't think it's anything to do with the Strad Maker Kit. But that was one of the surprises I had, was the instrument did sort of find its own intonation relative to, in conjunction with the room temperature. So I thought that was interesting. The coolest thing about that concert was actually 2 violinists came up to me afterwards, and there might have been more, but they just didn't say anything. They came up and said, "How the hell are your strings on there?" They were like, they look like they're floating. And so, backstage, I showed them my rig and told them all about it. One violinist was a younger person, so they never conceived of something like this. And then the other person was, I think, a retired violinist, and she really was like, "What is going on?" It looks like she was kind of flabbergasted. Like, are you allowed to do these things? Kind of statements. So we had a good giggle and a chat, and I talked about the merits of the Strad Maker Kit. I said that it's inspired from the bass instrument. It's sort of the world where I was inspired to try this out with the intention. I think that in the case of the bass, the double bass, the rationale behind it is to have something that mitigates wolf tones. And although violins can have wolf tones, that wasn't my goal with this. There was a side effect with this tailpiece-less way of doing things, of having more sonority. And I did some testing, and I've shared my results on one of my store pages of what the actual objective results are of sonority. And it's really interesting. In some instruments, the sound is just different. And in this instrument, the sound was, I can't remember if it was 30% bigger. It was a big number. And that's not just a end of one test. It was a lot of pieces played in different setups on the same instrument. So, I tried to be pretty scientific about it. And the sonority was very great on this one. And I also believe on my other fiddle with this Strad Maker Kit setup, the action was a lot nicer, and it's just easier to play fast passages. This instrument, I didn't sort of break it in enough. It's a new instrument, so I can't say if it improved. It's just I I didn't have much time playing fast passages with it. But if I took it off and the action and the response, it's a better word for it, if the response got worse, I think this violin would be in a little bit of a bad state, because it's a little sluggish, and it's a trade-off. I mean, every pitch on this violin has this sort of resonance. It's just gorgeous to play legato passages. And then when you play prickly passages, they have a very glowing sound, but it takes a minute to think, not a minute, it takes time for notes to activate. And then once they're activated, they're like, the instrument just goes crazy. So I would imagine with the tailpiece, this instrument would be quite a bit worse without that sort of response that this system makes for it. So yeah, some good feedback, or some curiosity. I won't say it was good feedback, but some curiosity for some members in the audience. And the worst case scenario didn't happen. It's probably unfounded fear of one of these things breaking, but that never happened. And also pretty normal situation happened with the temperatures and the instrument sort of losing its pitch, and I had to, I just tuned the instrument. It wasn't a big deal. But I know if it was a tailpiece there, that's a big piece of wood that can expand and contract, that is strung up to strings. So if there's a lot of temperature difference there, I would guess that a big temperature decrease or increase would actually affect the pitch quite a bit. So let's just maybe call that a draw as far as like the tailpiece. A wooden tailpiece might be worse in a situation where the temperature changes quite a bit. But since we can tune instruments, not a big deal. I just wasn't used to it. It's been forever since I really, it's kind of surprising. Like once in a while, I'll just be like, is this instrument, like weeks, months have gone by and it's still at 440? Like, really? And, it's hard to believe. It's just like, I'm just so used to instruments slipping all the time, and it just stays in tune all the time. And it's an interesting side effect of this system. I know cable and different materials like Kevlar, or there's some other materials I'm playing with too. I only pick materials that are very good at maintaining their there's a physics word for it, but it's basically where it doesn't stretch. And Kevlar's got that quality. There's some other ones that have that quality too. So it's like out of 10, it's like a 9 or a 10 on its ability to maintain its shape with stress. So it's a pretty interesting setup. I think I'm going to stick with it for the foreseeable future. If something breaks, I might just go a little thicker. The only thing that I don't like about this is a fine tuner on the E would be nice. And the workaround is a gear peg for the E, I suppose. And a gear peg is getting popular anyway, so I almost think there's really no downsides. So shameless plug, I'll put in the comment to check out the video series and package, and it's got like some PDFs in there as well. Like I'm selling it, I think, for something like $100 and some on one of my store channels. And it just goes into that, and it's like a kit. You can basically craft yourself one of these tailpieces out of different materials, and it goes into like all the intricacies of that. But I'll do that, and if you're curious, definitely check it out. It's pretty interesting. If you have a fiddle that is really giving you trouble, could be something to check out for $100 some. There's nothing to lose there, because fiddles are expensive, and if you can do something that takes a wolf tone away, or does something like brightens up a pretty dark sounding fiddle or something like that. Who knows? So I'll leave it at that. And just wanted to report in that under performance situations, this setup works. And I'm excited. Almost forgot that I hadn't given it a really good run, and I'm glad it worked out.